Thank you very much for that overview. Steve, welcome.
Good morning, chairs and members. It's a real privilege to appear before you and talk about what is the #1 priority for California state parks over the next 2 years. And I am honored to be a part of it. This will be a phenomenal 2-year period of time that, in my mind, will lead to a continuous positive change process in the department that will work very carefully to redirect the culture of the department and improve the services that are currently provided. It was my pleasure in the fall to join in this effort and to join with Parks Forward, who you've heard from today. And I was very excited about the fact that they were definitely on the right path, definitely going in the right direction. So many times with these types of efforts, though, as been mentioned many times today, the recommendations, everybody agree pretty much with the recommendations, and then you come to a point in time where it's time to put them into effect, try to make some changes around the recommendations. Very difficult process if in fact your implementation process is based on what's before you right now. The staff, for example, in a large decentralized department like Parks, a large decentralized agency like Natural Resources, if you're trying to do it along with the thousands of other things that are your responsibility, it's a very difficult process. If you make any progress at all, maybe it's in 1 or 2 items out of 100. So it was important to me before I agreed to come on board to get some commitments that, #1, if this is going to be a real project that yields real results, it needed to be urgent, and that's why the 2-year process, the 2-year start process was added. And the people involved in making these positive changes needed to be devoted full time, needed to be devoted all of the time that they have allocated to this process and not have 100 other things to do and not have to go from meeting to meeting as we all do, not be scattered, not be distracted. And that's what we're embarking on right now, and it's very exciting. Because we started early, because we were able to work with Parks Forward, we got a real head start on the process, and I can report to you today that a team of 15 transformation persons have been assembled. And if any of you have ever worked with change management teams, you'll know that this is not an easy process. This isn't a process of inviting people to a meeting and sit down and kind of talk about what you're going to do. It takes time to get to know each other and to learn to work together and to put everything on a table. And the team has done very well in that regard. So the transformation process has been launched. The 2 tenets are that the 2 huge important goals during this process is that it be focused around these 31 initiatives to begin with, and that it be transparent. And I'll talk a little bit more about transparency. And you can certainly help us in that regard, because we need all the ideas we can possibly come up with to assist in the transparency of this process. There's a huge window of opportunity now over the next 2 years. I've been amazed at the kind of alignment that exists right now. And alignment of the critical mass of employees, managers, and leaders in the department, alignment of the legislature, alignment of the administration and the resources agency, all of our partners from volunteers to private organizations and private nonprofits, local governments that are involved in parks and want to partner with state parks, and stakeholders of all kinds. The alignment is that everyone understands there needs to be significant changes, significant positive changes in parks, and they're willing to get on the train and move it forward and provide the necessary support that we need to get it done. To me, that's a window of opportunity that is very rare, and we need to take full advantage of it. The draft transformation plan has been prepared by the team. There's 31 initiatives. There's 4 strategic goals. We've organized into 8 committees. And that's really where the work is going to occur, within these 8 committees that range from budget and finance to partnerships to relevancy to innovation, planning and innovation, natural and cultural resources. We're in the process now of beginning to add to the committees members and contributors. And we expect that each committee will have 30, 40, 50 at one time or another members and contributors working on these specific initiatives over the next 2 years. So if anyone asks you what's the best way they can get involved in this transformation process, it's through those committees. That's the information we're putting out. We're reaching out to partners, to stakeholders, to certainly our own employees who have skill sets that can be helpful, to consultants. We intend to add to the transformation team up to 4 consultants over the next 2 years to help us with things like was mentioned in the earlier panel, marketing and outreach and advertising, technology innovations and things of those sort that you don't usually find in state organizations. So what are these 31 initiatives? Well, number one, you can see them on our website, and I know everybody says that, but I'm very proud of what we've done so far. You can access that through the California State Parks website, and right in the middle of the front page is the transformation team. Click on that and you can come up to our website where we have a lot of information of what's going on so far. One of the things that is really important is anyone that accesses that can provide suggestions and ideas on the website, and we're starting to receive some of those as people become more aware. We've also, within the department, have established an intranet where all the employees of the department anonymously can email me with ideas, suggestions, rants, things that they feel are important. And we're up to date, and we're responding. We respond to those, so it becomes a chalkboard of information for the employees and the managers of the department to look at the questions, look at the responses, and so on. So I want to just very briefly talk about 5 of the 31 initiatives. First is service-based budgeting, which is not very exciting unless you're really into these types of things. But we have no real way of describing the services we provide in the Parks Department. And this is not unusual. In large departments, this occurs all the time. This is a method, a program by which we will be able to describe those. We will be able to put cost to all those services, and we will be able to prioritize then. And so then you can begin to see what is the current level of service that we're able to provide with the resources that we have. What are the future priorities if additional money becomes available? When things get tough and money is less, what do we need to do with those services to accommodate the amount of money we have to work with? The second one, very important, partnerships. I won't talk about much about that, but it is very difficult right now to partner with California State Parks. Very soon, it will become much easier to partner with California State Parks. This is a ripe area. In my mind, there are hundreds of things that we can do in terms of policies and procedures to move ahead on partnerships, which are very important. You cannot run any kind of an organization today in the public sector with one business model. And with partnerships, we can have multiple business models that make a lot of sense. Organizational structure is the third. Relevancy and access for all is the fourth. And the last one I'll mention is approving the ability to increase revenue and improve technology that will help us increase revenue in the future. New forms of revenue, existing forms of revenue, all manners of looking at the way we access revenue to help support parks, because we are not under the impression that somehow we're going to return to the days of the common good when only the general fund is available to support a statewide service. We think it's going to be a mixed revenue model, and that fees and other types of revenues are a piece of that. This is a 2-year transformation process. We do expect that to get these 31 initiatives done. We also expect the number to increase dramatically, maybe double of the things that we discover that need to be changed over time. So it's important that the department be change-oriented from the 2 years and beyond, and it will be. One of the things that I'd like to talk about is that these 31, if you look at them, a lot of them are not rocket science. I mean, there are things that need to happen in any kind of an organization. And so if you look at them individually, you might think it's not very important. If you take all 31 together, though, it's a real dynamic process and will result in dynamic change.
Mr. Ugly, because we're going to be...
I was just wrapping up.
Okay, going into caucuses in a few minutes.
Yes.
And we have some questions, if you would finish with one more sentence, and let's open it up for some questions from members.
Thank you. It's a pleasure presenting.
Thank you.
That was succinctly ended. Okay. Senator Manning.
Well, thank you, and thank you both for your leadership in your respective roles and taking on what sounds like a very well thought out plan, a challenging one, and one that's essential to the future of our parks. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the public health link, and I do notice at page 35 of the report, recognizing trends of youth obesity, sedentary, lack of physical exercise, the link to the parks. Has there been any outreach to public health sector, rural clinics, family practice physicians, California Medical Association? We should be encouraging doctors who are working with families to write prescriptions for families to access the parks. There's no reason they can't do that. And I think that's a critical partnership when you look at partnerships. So I'd like your comments on if there has been any outreach with health providers, particularly clinics serving low-income communities in California. It seems like they would be a natural partner. And then also, you do mention looking at expanding healthful food options in the parks. I know a lot of the food services are contracted to vendors, and have either of you looked at the prospect of, in those vendor contracts, reviewing what types of food and drinks are going to be sold in our state parks?
On the second one, absolutely. That's something that should be done as contracts come up, and that has been discussed in the department. The whole issue of the linkage with health is very important, and there have been some preliminary discussions with Parks Forward folks as we've finished those discussions in the fall, and we will be taking those up. They're not specifically related to the 31 at this point, but certainly very important, both climate change and health issues, very important to parks.
Yeah, and I would think that outreach and partnerships, working with public health leaders and medical community working with children, especially also opinion makers, athletes, entertainers, etc., to become co-promoters of families accessing our parks. I mean, kids are so influenced today. There's 24/7 advertising coming into their homes and often promoting damaging products. We need to counterbalance that and let some successful entertainers and athletes, not for a fee, but for their volunteer commitment and giving back to their communities, to step up and be the face with some of these changes of the parks. And so young kids see the people they look up to, encouraging them to access the parks. It just seems, Commissioner Packard mentioned, our state agencies are not expert in marketing and business plans. And this looks like an effort to try to pull some of the planning techniques from the private sector into running an efficient and cost-efficient park system. But I would hope that important nexus with health and health promoters and opinion makers will be part of this integrated approach.
We agree with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions by members? Yes.
To touch on what the senator just said, so are you guys actually building partnerships with the healthcare side? I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, we've got all these California health agencies where you guys could put a simple link for, you know, families to click on that'll give them access to the parks and different things in their areas. And that's not a huge funds thing. I mean, you've got access to advertisement on government websites that are already existing. So is there partnership being developed? Yes, no, and moving forward with that, what would be the plan to implement that?
We've had discussions so far, especially with one of the Parks Forward commissioners, Stephen Lockhart, with Sutter. We've had some discussions leading up to that. I couldn't tell you that we've actually implemented anything yet. No.
Okay, because I am the millennial generation guy up here. It's a simple link of a code that they can access and just put into a website. So I don't see what a problem with adding that in would be. I mean, you're talking a couple hours of computer programmers' time to do that.
And you have a volunteer.
Well, and I think it might be helpful to kind of infuse into this conversation that this is something that I've heard discussed for quite some time. And oftentimes I think Parks itself, as a sole state entity, tries to tackle this. And I'm not sure that there has been any high-level outreach and kind of a thoughtful partnership with maybe other state entities. Rather than just doing this on our own, are there perhaps opportunities that we should be exploring to piggyback on Department of Public Health or Health and Human Services agencies that already exist, since we're likely targeting those same people? And so I think when we tackle many of these things, we need to think about it broadly as an administration, and that where are those touch points that already exist with those populations and those communities, and how can we maybe expand upon that rather than kind of building from the ground up as a state entity on our own?
Absolutely.
If I could also just interrupt and add to that, on the philanthropic side, it seems like a lot of the foundations are traditionally environmental funders, but look at California Endowment, California Healthcare Foundation, and others that are putting huge sums of money into public health initiatives. Again, it seems like a logical funding partnership.
Good suggestion. Anyway, speaking for myself and maybe also Assemblymember Levine, we really do sincerely look forward to working with you both. You have a lot on your plate. Final question is, so 2 years to implement a very comprehensive realignment, if you will, or recommendations for the 31 initiatives and the Parks Forward Commission. What do you see as an important role of the legislature, other than transparency, during the 2 years? Do we just wait? No. So let me hear from you on how we can be better partners other than having informational hearings.
As the work on the initiatives goes through the process, There will be areas in order to actually achieve things when legislation will be needed. Changes in current legislation, perhaps due legislative issues. We haven't identified a large number of those yet, but I'm sure there will be. So that, that's one area. The other area is just getting feedback and input into some of the things that we're working on us in a specific time frame, and so working with you in smaller groups or perhaps with committees, we're certainly willing to do that on a regular basis.
Lisa, do you have any add-ons to that? How about in the role of expanding the applications for the superintendent position?
Well, I think more broadly, I would say, our goal is that this is an ongoing dialogue with you folks, and the first time that you're hearing information should not be in this forum, that we should be engaging very closely with your staff. As you're aware, we've reached out to legislative leadership because we'd like to establish these work groups and work with you in real time. I expect that this overall effort is going to change many things about this department. When you open up the governor's budget and the budget that's adopted by the legislature, I suspect the structure of it will look differently. What that looks like today, what it ends up looking like, I don't know today. But I also think that the transformation team effort is going to yield the need for statute changes. Everything that we're doing has longevity and sustainability in mind. And it's not our goal to just do this merely through changing policies and procedures, but that's really where we're hoping to have your help, and also to keep a bright light on us. I think it's important that folks be engaged. One of my hopes is that the momentum and the engagement that the Parks Forward Commission has been able to generate continues through this effort. One of the things that I think is really key about the transformation team effort is online for everyone to see will be a dashboard that will talk about the various initiatives and outline specifically what are the steps that we're taking to execute some of those. And so I think that that's going to be very key. I think another thing is when we talk about 2 years, I hope that people are not thinking that we go dark on people and at month 24 we have this huge complicated package of solutions. Instead, we plan on rolling these out in real time as things move forward. So every time we're up talking to you, we hope to be talking about more of these things in the past tense.
All right. Thank you both very much. And back to you on panel 3.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I would like to invite the stakeholder panel back up, or up now, for your presentation. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll have your name cards up real quick so you know where to sit. And would like to, there are a few of us who have lasted this long, and I'm grateful for the members who have stayed and remained interested. We talked a lot about how much our community loves state parks. This next panel is a part of the team that is, represents so many of us park lovers who want to be a part of making sure that our parks are preserved and treasured the way that they really deserve. And so I really want to express my gratitude to you for your years of commitment to our parks and for your testimony today. This has been running long as these do, particularly because we are so passionate about our parks. If you can please express in your short comments as much as you can that's impactful, that would then allow us to then engage in Q&A after the 4 of you are completed, that would be great, so that we can then allow time for public comment, because we all love our parks and there are people I'm sure who want to express that before we end today. Thank you so much for your time. We'll begin with Ms. Goldstein.
Good morning, Chairman Levine and committee members. I'm Elizabeth Goldstein. I'm the president of the California State Parks Foundation, and on behalf of our 130,000 members, we appreciate the attention you are giving to the Parks Forward report, and thank you in advance for all the work that you will begin this legislative session to bring some of its key concepts and proposals to life. Like many others, we see the release of the Parks Forward report as a beginning of a new chapter for our state parks, signifying a key pivot towards excellence. The pursuit of excellence is a challenge for all of us, achieving a future that is characterized by excellent programs that inspire kids and families, excellent facilities to attract visitors looking for novel ways to explore California, excellent connections to schools and education systems to give every student access to state parks. I'd like to speak about a few specific ideas that we shared with the Parks Forward Commission as you consider the role the legislature will play in the implementation, monitoring, and in supporting progress towards excellence. First, partnerships. Our experience working with DPR and with local park organizations every day gives us a unique perspective about what is needed to make partnerships work. Healthy partners equal healthy partnerships, and our 3-year focus on improving the capacity in the nonprofit sector supporting state parks affirms this. Friends groups exist because citizens see their parks as gems and give time, talent, and money. They create and run education programs, engage their communities, manage retail and other revenue-generating enterprises, and provide hours and hours of volunteer time. But as much as nonprofits, local governments, and businesses can do great things to support state parks, there needs to be a consistent, flexible, and willing public sector department to partner with. The Parks Forward Commission report recommends that DPR institute a structure to accommodate partnerships, and we make an even more specific recommendation. DPR should create a executive-level appointed partnership czar to bring leadership and institute a culture of yes and can do when it comes to collaborating with partners. Park partners have achieved much within a system that is often challenged to accept innovative ideas or out-of-the-box thinking. Imagine how much more good will be done and how much richer park experiences will be when there is support and encouragement for those partners to be even more innovative. Second, on the new support entity for state parks, we have long recommended that this new entity focus on marketing and enterprise. This focus would go a long way to making parks relevant by putting visitor values first, providing the type of services that park visitors want, keeping our park facilities and spaces in productive, well-maintained order, and promoting excellent amenities, programs, and activities that inspire and excite visitors to come again and again. A new enterprise entity staffed with skilled personnel who are sensitive to the conservation ethic of state parks, as well as savvy to mission-appropriate business opportunities that can be successful in a parks environment, will be responsible for bringing innovative new amenities into parks. A new entity could take on things like the reuse of historic structures and ecotourism approaches as ways to bring new visitors into parks. In addition to cabin development recommended by the Parks Forward Commission, imagine retreat centers and restored barracks at Angel Island, or staying in yurts in Sonoma Valley, or special boat tours on Lake Tahoe. All these ideas put visitor value first, provide attractive new amenities, and reflect the reality that creative use of park facilities, buildings, and structures will do far more to keep these facilities in shape than allowing them to deteriorate through lack of use. The next chapter for state parks will require a disciplined approach amongst all of us in prioritizing the most critical next steps and applying our collective assets and skills. The legislature has a key role to play in setting these priorities. If the biggest, most systemic projects are not tackled first, or the right stakeholders are not properly and fully engaged, and if a deep collaborative process is not tendered throughout the transformation process and fully and adequately funded, then everyone's collective hopes will remain unfulfilled. And as we have for more than 4 decades, CSPF remains committed to ensuring that our state parks remain available, accessible, and enjoyable for all Californians, and we look forward to this important, successful work ahead of all of us.
Great, thank you. And if you could please submit that testimony to us, that would be extraordinarily helpful. Mr. Hodder.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak. I'm Sam Hodder. I'm president of Save the Redwoods League, and we've been proud to be involved in the Parks Forward process from the beginning, and in fact involved in the California State Parks Department from the beginning since our founded in 1918. I'll submit some written remarks as well and just very briefly touch on 3 or 4 important things, and then so we can move to question and answer. Again, as I mentioned, since 1918, Save the Redwoods League has been a partner with the department, whether we've been working through land acquisition to create and add to the redwood parks, whether through our scientists doing research programs within California State Parks to better understand the redwood ecosystem and its impact on climate change, designing and printing brochures and education and interpretation material, improving infrastructure for the visitor experience in the parks. We've been shoulder to shoulder through thick and thin as a partner with the department, and we remain so today. And we look at these recommendations and the report that came out of the commission as a transformative moment in our partnership. And if implemented, and it's, as Elizabeth mentioned, it's all of our responsibility moving forward, the administration, the department, the transformation team, and we, the community of park supporters, to stay engaged, it will have a remarkable impact on California and the people's experience in California State Parks. So a couple of quick points that I wanted to mention. First of all, the Save the Redwoods League very enthusiastically supports the recommendations in the report, and in particular those that help to upgrade the systems and the procedures in the park. The new approaches to budgeting that were described by Steve and Lisa are extremely strong, and wanted to also emphasize, of course, the efforts to improve the way the department partners with organizations like ours. Again, we're proud of our partnership over the years, but there's a lot that can be done to make it easier for us to bring our resources to bear to the benefit of the parks. Rewarding innovation in the field, lowering barriers to good ideas, and frankly making it easier for nonprofit partners to help. Many of the recommendations will enhance that, and for an organization that is poised to rethink how we do our work and how we collaborate with partners as we turn 100, many of the recommendations in this report represent the enabling conditions that will allow us to bring more resources to bear for the benefit of the redwood parks and the park system as a whole. Another key point I wanted to mention was that many of these fixes that we've been discussing in terms of the systems and procedures, while critical, of course, can't do it alone, and need to be coupled with, as has been discussed today already, a real effort to explore long-term sustainable funding to support the department. Many of these fixes that we've been discussing are about how the back office operates and supports the parks, but the people's experiences in the parks themselves, and making sure that we're investing in the natural resources management, that we're investing in the visitor infrastructure that helps to inspire the people and allow the parks to do their work of connecting people with each other and with the California landscape. That's going to require a long-term commitment to sustainable funding, and needs to be coupled with these fixes that have been discussed today and are represented in the report. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight, and not surprisingly given the organization that I represent, the role that the Redwoods have played in the history and of the Redwood Parks. It was the Redwoods that inspired the creation of the department to begin with. The Redwoods continue to be the catalyst for visitors to come to the Redwood Parks, and in many ways are the calling card for the network of parks and for the state itself worldwide. And it is the Redwoods again that can inspire the next generation of Californians to really engage with the parks and appreciate the inspiration and the awe-inspiring nature of the redwood ecosystem. So any conversation about investing in the transformation of California state parks needs to also explore how those investments can enhance the natural resources management and the visitor experience in those redwood parks, because they will continue to be a catalyst for the way the people of California relate to our park system. So in closing, I just wanted to say again how supportive we are of the effort that's put into this. I've been inspired just today listening to the level of engagement and interest and knowledge of this committee in the discussions, and that as the legislature advances the components of this that will keep the changes moving forward, I hope you'll look to Save the Redwoods League as a long-term partner and as a resource moving forward.